our final presenter before lunch is Paul Bibby, Managing Director of Akora Copper, who'll tell us all about their exciting projects and with green steel. Over to you.
Okay. No, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Akora Resources is a cleaner iron ore for a greener steel future. I think we all understand the disclaimers and the forward-looking statements. Our projects are in Madagascar. Our key project is Becky Soper. The map of Madagascar in the middle there is to show you that Madagascar has a growing and very well experienced exploration and mining activity going on at the moment. The orange dots spread across the country there are existing operations. Rio Tinto's there with mineral sands. Sumitomo and the Koreans are there with nickel laterite projects called Ambatavi. Then there's a number of graphite projects, lithium and others. The green dots are advanced exploration projects, which Akora's iron ore projects are the only ones in iron ore in Madagascar are part of. We've chosen Becky Soper because of the outcropping iron ore you can see here on the left-hand photograph, 67% iron in that outcrop. Benchmark grade is 62%. The photo on the right is a trench some 2 metres deep, and you can see there lump and fines, big rocks, finer rocks. The nearby drill hole graded 66%. So what we're looking to do is to mine that weathered surface DSO as our initial project, low capital cost, high margin opportunity. Becky Soper, we started by walking the ground. On the image on the right-hand side is the magnetic image. We crisscrossed that at every 25 metres and came up with that very strong magnetic anomaly, the strong red image you can see there. And that then became the identifier for where we had to drill in the coming years. Akora listed in December of 2020, so we've only been at this for 3 years, and you can see some drill results there from 4 drilling campaigns, 250 holes in total, some 8 kilometres drilled. So really relatively shallow drilling to identify that DSO, direct ship ore, lump and fines grade in that weathered zone. Only 2 holes have missed in 250, so it's been very predictable. And each campaign we've done has delivered the results that we expected. We've really only drilled 30% of that 6 kilometre strike to come up with our maiden resource, so there's potential there for quite a lot more tonnes to be defined. The exploration potential at Becky Soper is 1 billion tonnes of iron ore. This is a cross-section in the southern zone. You can see it's a bit like a saucer. The red boxes on the east and western side define the weathered zone, direct ship iron ore, the lump and fines. You can see grades there starting on the right-hand side of 60%, 65, 65 and 63. Selectively mining that is a low capital cost entry point, high margin project to get us underway. Once that is removed, and there's no overburden there, once that DSO is removed from the weathered zone, we've got the fresh rock, a magnetite iron ore body. We're seeing grades there of 79.5 metres at 41%, 45%, 48 and 54%. So it's a very high grade magnetite ore body. It's not a banded iron formation, as often is the case for magnetite. This has got a very coarse iron mineralisation within the country rock, and it upgrades very readily at coarse crushing and grind sizes. So we've got the DSO resource for the first project, and then the green steel resource for the future. All the work that we've done is on our Becky Soper project, which you can see there on the right-hand image, the red line. We've also got tenements to the southwest, some 40 to 50 kilometres closer to the port. Until 12 months ago, we hadn't even explored these, and we've actually started now doing some work on this part here, which is called Satrakala. Within 16 months of listing and 2 drilling campaigns, we've got our inferred resource just under 200 million tonnes of iron in both the weathered and fresh rock zone. Since then, we've done some infill drilling, and that's to find the 4.4 million tonnes of direct ship ore, which has been the basis for the scoping study. And then underneath that is the green steel resource, 34 million tonnes grading 45% iron, which upgrades to 68, 69% iron concentrate with very low impurities. So what we have at Becky Soper is basically 2 projects in the one set of tenements. Stage 1 is a low capital project working on the lump and fines outcropping material to produce conventional feed for a blast furnace. With the cash flow from that, We can then move to stage 2, develop the process further with more grinding and magnetic separation circuits to get into producing a high-grade concentrate for the future of green steel, direct reduced iron pellets, high-grade concentrate. The scoping study was released last November. So within 3 years of listing, we've put together the scoping study. We could have done years and years of drilling, but it was quite interesting. Very early on in the project, when I was talking to people, they wanted to know what were the logistics, what did it cost, and the like. So we've got that from our scoping study. What we've found is that each time we've drilled, we've got more tonnes and more grade. It's been a very predictable ore body. So we know that we can add mine life to this project. The scoping study has a production of up to 2 million tonnes, a 5-year mine life. We've used $100 benchmark price. Last November, if you look back 5 years, the average for the last 5 years was $118. So it's a very good price. The cash flow from that project, $270 million pre-tax. And that's because the operating costs here are $42 against a benchmark price of 100. We've also tested this at 80, and the NPV and the IRR are still very strong and encouraging. And as you can imagine, the next drilling program will add more mine life, will enhance these financial parameters even further. For this project, a payback of 2 years. So it's a very robust payback. Importantly, that cash flow enables us to develop the process even further and fund the future green steel, higher capital, high-grade concentrate project. I've put the cash flow model in from the scoping study because it shows you what the ramp-up is. It's a relatively slow ramp-up because we have to bring in people, train them up. We have to get trucks down the road and the like. And it also enables us not just to spend the money in the first year, but spend it over the first 2 or 3 years. So the initial cash required to build the mine might only be 35 million, not 55. Because we can do year 1 and 2's production in the dry season, therefore we don't need a bridge across the river and things like that, and wait till the production gets larger and we need to operate throughout the year. The other important thing on this slide is when you get to year 4 and you're producing 2 million tonnes a year of lump and fines for the blast furnace, the cash flow is $100 million. So it's a very attractive project. And each year going forward, with 2 million tonnes production, we're getting $100 million of cash flow, right, at $100 per tonne long-term iron ore price. There is a pit to port solution. Often in the bulk commodities, it's all about the logistics. So from Becky Soper, a very remote location, we need to create a 50-kilometre road. At the moment, there's no road, no bridge, no people, so we've got to create that road. Then we've got a track to upgrade, and then there is, in the yellow, heading to the National Highway, an all-weather road that's already being used by small mining companies, joins the National Highway. Elevation decreases from about 1,000 metres to sea level over that 340-kilometre drive. So while the trucks are loaded, that's an advantage. And then down to the port of Toliara, where we'll establish a ship loading facility and the like. Okay, so there is a solution there. 340, 360 kilometres sounds like a lot. However, in West Australia now, there are trucks delivering iron ore to port over distances of 400 and 600 kilometres. The big difference in Madagascar is it's a very poor country. Truck drivers there get paid $10,000, not $150,000. So an advantage for us in terms of road haulage. All of the discussion and the data has been on the Becky Soper project. 12, 15 months ago, we walked our Satricala tenements for the first time. You can see what the countryside looks like. It's very red because of the high-grade iron. Rock chips in that area graded 68%. You can see the tenement package there on the right, those 2 tenements. The strike length is some 10 kilometres. The red dots are plus 65% iron rock chips. The yellow between 60 and 65. And they were found all over that full 10 kilometres with more spread out in the southern area of that 10 kilometres. We then completed a magnetic survey in October last year, and that's the next announcement, which will give us the magnetic image for Satricala and therefore the drill targets going forward. All of what I've spoken about so far has been the geology and the opportunity at Becky Soper and Satricala. There's also a geographical advantage for Madagascar. Madagascar off the coast of Africa shipping access into the traditional markets of China and into Asia. But more importantly, the nearby neighbour is India. India's production in terms of steel last year was 130 million tonnes, growing to 250 million tonnes by 2030. So significant growth. They'll be looking to import iron ore, and Madagascar is an obvious choice for that. There's also the Middle East. Most of those Middle Eastern countries have steel works with electric arc furnaces, ideal for the future green steel high-grade concentrate. The demand for steel is increasing. You know, we hear some negative stories here in about Australia about China's, flattening out and this and that's going on. Demand out to 2050 is flattening, but it's still a significant growth in steel consumption and production around the world. That means there's going to be a lot more iron ore required. So there's going to be an opportunity and pretty solid prices, I would believe, going forward, particularly as electrification happens. Every aspect of electrification, whether it's transmission towers, wind turbines, electric vehicles, they all require steel, as well as the lithiums and the copper. And I want them to do well, because the better they do, the more steel is going to be required going forward, and therefore iron ore from Madagascar. So what is green steel making? It's moving from the blast furnace, which is iron ore and coking coal, to electric arc furnaces or similar, fed by renewables, but requiring direct reduced iron pellets rather than scrap, because there will not be enough scrap to feed those electric arc furnaces, the traditional feed material. And it's going to be high-grade iron ore pellets produced by fusing the concentrate using, initially I believe, natural gas, but potentially hydrogen down the track as that becomes more economic. And that's what the green steel is all about, reducing the CO2 emissions for each tonne of steel produced. It's already happening across the Northern Hemisphere. There are a number of countries which are already putting in the transition towards green steel with electric arc furnaces and renewables, and more of that is happening. The big question is, where is the material going to come from? Where is the high-grade concentrate, lower impurities going to come from? In 2020, there was only 90 million tonnes of DRI-grade material produced and consumed in the steel industry in the world. We need 10 times that by 2050, and it can only come from magnetite iron ores. The Pilbara-type hematite iron ores cannot be upgraded to produce this high-grade, lower impurity material because of their grades and the high amounts of silica and alumina. So we need magnetite like we have at Akora in Madagascar. This is a comparison slide. The green is Akora. We can get the iron grade, and we're doing that at 75 microns. These other projects are doing it at 40 and 25 microns, so they're needing more capital equipment and higher operating costs to get those grades. What's becoming more evident is the need for lower impurities, because the higher the impurities, the less efficient the electric arc furnace is, and the higher the cost of the steel from electric arc furnace. We're one of the few projects that can get below that 2.5% impurities level, combined silica and alumina. It's happening at 75 microns. The other projects and operating companies like Champion Iron are doing it at 25 microns and 40 microns and the like. So higher capital, higher operating costs. So why is Akora able to do that? Our starting grades, as you can see on the right-hand side there, are much higher. We only need to mine 2 tonnes to get a tonne of product compared to the other projects there. They're all averages. This is an example of some drill core at 27 metres below surface, average grade 40%, at 75 microns, upgrades to 70% with very, very low impurities, including phosphorus and sulphur. So ideal for the electric arc furnace and for steel making going forward. We have over 2,000 of results like this to talk to. On the community side, we meet with them, we give them jobs. We've been providing educational material for the students and medical supplies. And we built a water tower. We drilled down 80 metres to get fresh water, built a water tower, 5 taps in the village. So for the first time they had clean fresh water, and within 6 months the health of the children in the community improved. So as a result, we've got quite a good respect from the community and their support. A strong board. Graham Hunt joined us in February of this year. BHP started in the steelworks at Wollongong and the cinder plant, and ran the BHP Pilbara operations for 5 years. So he comes to us with a huge amount of experience and credibility and really loves the project and wants us to succeed and move forward, and got wonderful contacts. Jason Whittle is a new employee in January of this year. He comes to us to be our General Manager of Development and Projects going forward, and will help us greatly in terms of progressing through the studies. I'm disappointed that our share price has been flat for the last 12 months. It's been a tough market, as you all know. But we've held our ground. 15 million market cap. We've only got 100 million shares on issue. The top 20 own 61%. So it's a very good corporate structure. PAC Partners did a research report on us. We're very fortunate that PAC Partners engaged. In February of this year, they've done their research. It's available if you like. I can give it to you, get it to you. They're seeing a risk value price of 71 cents. So they're seeing quite a large upside to our current share price, around 15 or 16 cents, just from the DSO scoping study aspect of the work, not the long-term green steel future. So thank you very much for listening, and appreciate your time, and love some questions.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We do have time for one quick question. If there's any questions from the floor, or maybe, Paul, you could tell us. Oh, there's one there.
How long production profile would you get out of the DSO?
At the moment, the scoping study is looking for 5 years. As I said, each time we've done drilling, we get another several years. So last year's drilling program, the assays were published only 2 or 3 weeks ago. The mineral resource upgrade from that will come out sort of mid-April, and we're expecting another year to 2 years of mine life. From Becky Soper alone, we're expecting sort of 8 to 10 years at 2 million tonnes being the mine life for that project, which is going to generate a lot of cash to enable us to get to the next stage. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Paul, and thank you, everyone.